Dear Realtors, today we're talking about selling with purpose, why it's costing you more than clients. And really, got into this today because we've seen this with our clients. We at times have gone through this ourselves as well in our space, in our business. And it really comes down to if you're ever in a position or a place where you're just starting to question your business. It's starting to feel like a grind instead of a flow. It might even feel heavy, like you might be doing all the things, but you're not getting the results you want. The fulfillment's really not there. And a lot of the times we're in a society, right, where we're around what are we going to do next? What's the strategy behind this? I know I can fall into that place too. And sometimes it's a little bit deeper than that. Sometimes it does have to do with realigning with your values, realigning with your purpose, and realigning with what's important to you in the first place. So if you're a real estate agent, that you can come from a place where you're truly leading your life and your business from that place of alignment. So this has, like I was saying, come up for us recently. We just did a session. We lead our clients or our members through a process that helps them dig into their values and truly what their purpose is. So Jamie, thinking about this, how would you describe what's coming up when it comes to identity and purpose in business?
Yeah, I think it gets forgotten. We get caught up in the day-to-day activities. We get caught up in making money. We get busy working with buyers and sellers. And then it's basically a trap, right? So you just get caught up doing the same thing over and over, and you lose that sense of why you started, what do you want to get out of it, what's your long game, what's your end game, if you will. Because I see that right now. It's happening, and I'm having a lot of conversations about it, where realtors are either really, really busy and they have no time for like family. They're missing lunches, they're missing family events, they're forgetting to eat. Or the opposite of that is they're chasing business, they don't have any business. Where am I going to get the business? And then they live in these two places. And I think that the through line between that is getting connected to what's your purpose, what's the reason you're doing this, what brings you calm, what helps you relax while being productive and being busy. We can still have that identity of calmness and just understanding that things are going to work out and we don't have to chase it. We can attract business to us. So I think in the business of life, we can easily forget that and we don't get connected to it, or we aren't even aware of it sometimes because we're just in the focus of business or worry that we're going to need to get business.
And that worry state, right? That's truly when it comes down to what's driving you. Is it your anxious self or is it your aligned self? Are you feeling that like needy energy? Are you feeling like it's work or are you feeling like it's flow? And it really is going back to your true self at most times, right? It's tapping back into why you started in the first place. What matters to you? What's important about all the goals you're setting and the money that you want to make? It's coming back to your key motivators in this, right?
Yeah, I think being aware, are you living in scarcity or are you living in abundance? And that came up when we just did the workshop for our clients of understanding what are your values. And when I went through it, my top value right now at this point in my life is gratitude. And when we live in gratitude, that's an abundant mindset versus I'm struggling, I need to do a deal, and therefore scarcity is driving every decision. Even beyond decisions, is driving the energy that you are bringing out for people. So when you're meeting somebody, they feel that energy that you're in scarcity, and energy is transferable, whether we're face to face, whether we're on the phone with somebody. People feel that energy from you. So if you're in scarcity, you're actually repelling business. It's being pushed away from you. So I think understanding my sense that being grateful and gratitude is my number one value right now, it allows me just to relax and just be calm and get into flow by surrendering. Like I don't have to worry. Right? Worry often comes from doubt, right? If we doubt our success, then worry settles into what we do and how we act and how we talk. And then that anxiousness comes through, and then that scarcity is really coming through everything we do. And you don't even notice it. I think that's the interesting thing, Jacklyn, is when you're in that, you don't notice it, right? But people feel it. And that's, again, I think it's why it's really important to understand what are your values and just being realigned to them on a consistent basis.
And it truly is that, right? It's understanding A, what they are, what's beneath that for you. And then B, it's understanding how can I show up with that on a day-to-day basis, and how can I present that to the people that are around me as well and truly match the energy I'd like to receive. I know when I've gone through this, mine have been pretty steady and true. And it's number one is authenticity. And it's unique because I do find anytime I'm stuck in an anxious state or I'm not connected to what I'm doing, I'm not being authentic to something. So I'm either doing something that isn't natural to who I am. Recently, I have even found like it's going back to what makes me tick personally so that I can show up a certain way in business. So as you're listening to this too, this is just a really real life example here. There was a lot of changes personally in my life. And I think when anyone goes through a lot, that does, there's a ripple effect in every area, of course. And for me, it was personally coming back to, okay, what fills my cup no matter what? And to me, that's movement. I need to be prioritizing that. That needs to be a focus, like blinders on no matter what, because that allows me to show up differently in my business. So it's interesting because that is a personal action, but it definitely has that ripple effect in all areas, right?
And just digging down a little bit, drilling down a bit on what you just said, like your life is totally uprooted right now, right?
Yes.
So it's dealing with business and the flow of business and generating business and everything that comes with running a business. So whether coaches like us or you're in real estate or any entrepreneur is caught up in all that. And then you add into what you've just been through, where you've basically uprooted, moved, and are in the middle of transitioning to that next place you're going to, which there's uncertainty around that. So that just causes this overwhelm, right? Like we were talking about that the other day. And that overwhelm, when you're in that, it's not easy to connect to purpose at that moment, right?
No, you get into like mechanical motions, like I find I should be doing this. I still show up doing this every day. And I'm sure realtors go through this too. You're doing the actions, you're doing the things, but something just doesn't feel good. Something feels off.
And when you're doing the work, is it easy? Or do you find it is hard and you have to grind? It's like that grinding through the process.
I do feel anchored by my work. Like I'm just personally someone that does fuel my cup, I'd say. But yeah, you do reach a breaking point. You can only, I believe, pour from an empty cup to a certain point, and then it does naturally, your body starts to speak to you. Always your body keeps score of that book, but it truly is your body will react to a state that it's been in for a prolonged period of time.
I saw it in what we are going through, right? As from a business perspective in our conversation. And I was speaking to a realtor yesterday about this, who's fairly new in the business, a couple years in the business, is doing a lot of leases, right? Has done a couple sales, but most of the business right now is coming from working with rental clients, doing leases. And that's a lot of work. And she's been doing this now for almost 2 years and basically said that she's not even enjoying it anymore. It's so routine. There's almost a bit of anger, as you just mentioned, and totally lost that feeling of what caused her to get into real estate. So now there's this disconnect from what I'm doing. And now it's just anybody that's ever been in a position that they're working at an employer's or a company or even in your own business where you just actually start to hate what you're doing, or maybe hate's a strong word, but you're just not excited about it. And when you're not excited about it, you're not showing up, as your best self. You're not being your best self. And as a result of that, that affects the outcomes, right? So we had a conversation. It was just about, okay, what was the reason you got into real estate? So bringing it back full circle to what was the reason you got in, and now, okay, how are we going to get to that next evolution where we can take your business and life to that next level by shifting what you're doing so that we can work with more sellers and more buyers. That's just an example of somebody who was in it, loved it, was excited about it, and a year and a half in is already feeling that, I don't even know if I want to do this anymore. And I think that shows up whether you're fairly new or you've been in this for 10 years. I've talked to many realtors that have been doing this for a while and they're not making the money they were making. And all of a sudden the incomes come down, they're working harder. And why am I doing all this? Except often when you've been in it for a while, you have expenses. So you just keep working because you have all these expenses. And as a result of that, it's not fun. So we've lost the fun, right? So I think it's just really important to be aware that, okay, if you don't know what your values are, take time to really reflect on that and just, ask yourself, like, what are the top 3 values that I have for my life personally? Because that'll transcend into business.
And to break down what you said there, right, there's sort of 3 layers to that I've seen within one of our programs as well from agents coming through. Number one, you're going to see the new agents. And you may not be getting that result that you want. So then you start to feel that burnout, especially if it's over a period of time. And then it's coming back to, why did you start this in the first place? We've seen that with agents that are around that 10-year mark. So I'm even talking 5 to 10-year mark that have gotten into that exact zone, that exact place of, I feel that need to reset, basically. And then I have agents come through this that have been in the industry for 20 years. And they're all saying the exact same thing. It's, you get to this point where it's like, okay, something's unaligned between my personal self and how I'm showing up in my business. I don't feel good about it anymore. And I want that, the amount of times I've heard that reset, like I know something needs to reset to get back into motion and momentum and to start like loving my business again.
Yeah, that feeling of being stuck, like how often have we seen that recently? Like everybody that we're talking to that has just joined our coaching program, I think that's the through line for everyone. Different income levels, so it's not about the income, but they're at a point where they deep down feel or desire to do more, but they're stuck at a level and they're hitting a ceiling. And that's where frustration starts to show up. We just walk through this program, this workshop rather, and help people get aligned to values. And it was such a shift in a matter of 45 minutes to listen how people all of a sudden just felt calmer because they got connected to really what it is that's important to them. And whether it's, just being truthful all the time, being authentic, being grateful, being influential, those are 2 of mine. And just understanding everything I do is in alignment to that. So work is fun if I'm connected to why I'm doing it and understand the byproduct of me showing up as my best self is I'm influencing a difference in my life. More importantly, I'm influencing others to make decisions to have a bigger, better life. So that's how we connect to what we do. And as realtors, I think it's important to figure out, what is your connection? Is it helping people? Is it making more money? Those can be different elements of what inspires individuals. It doesn't matter what it is, it's getting connected to that value, that top value for yourself.
And these are some questions for any realtors listening that would be great to ask yourself here. It would be starting to consider, yes, are you feeling stuck? And something I've heard a lot of our members saying specifically is, I feel like I'm in a rut. So if you're feeling that rutness at all in what you're doing on a day-to-day, if you're starting to dread the work that you're doing, that's a pattern that I've seen as well. There's just this disconnect from the love of the day-to-day. And are your goals that you're setting motivating you and pulling you towards them? Or are you writing down something that someone else may want? So are you connecting that to truly what's important to you in the first place? So maybe it's not just the amount of money that you want to make, but the amount of people that you want to serve, the amount of clients that you want to help. So it's understanding what motivates you so you can connect things like your goals, like your daily actions to those key principles. And knowing those questions, knowing how that's feeling for you when it comes to reclaiming your identity as a real estate agent and owning your identity as a real estate agent. Because there's a lot of people I've seen talk about what they do specifically, and not necessarily are tying that into who they are. And that's where you see that energetic shift in people. That's where you see those differences. So a process that we walk through in helping people uncover what's important to them, what their values are, what their purpose is a process where essentially helping them to tap into their subconscious. So it's not a, what are your values? Write them down on a piece of paper sort of exercise, because what tends to happen in those moments is we get stuck consciously with what sounds good, or what's a value that came to mind firsthand that I think should be there because it sounds important. But it's a process to go through where you're thinking back into a visualization exercise, essentially, where you're able to go to previous experiences in your career. It could even be in your personal life, but ideally in your business or your career setting, where you've had, number one, a fulfillment, where you purely felt fulfillment and what values came up with you during that time. We redo the process, go back through this visualization into a moment when you felt complete satisfaction. And then we redo that again and think back to a moment where you felt alignment. So even listening to this, you can think through that for yourself and take a few deep breaths and just reflect on, yeah, when have I felt those things in my life? And what values was I operating through at that time? What qualities are coming up? And then narrow it down to the top 5. So we all operate from, it can be many, but we're going to think, act, and operate based on our top 5 essentially. So that's going to help you now start to understand, okay, how am I truly operating and what can I connect back to? So that would be a first piece to this. And then how can you reclaim your core identity as a realtor? Then how can you tie in these elements into what you're doing on a day-to-day basis? That's really the goal here. So once you've known your values, that's really element 1 here. What would you say now, Jamie, are 1 to 2 ways that realtors can connect their values to what they're doing on a day-to-day basis?
Well, based on what you just shared, is getting clear on what are they. This is not a conversation that I found to be normal in my almost 40 years in the business. Like rarely this is talked about, right? You get into business and it's like, go do it, go to work, go, right? And I think this is what I know we've found for ourselves makes it so holistic in everything we do is getting clear on, okay, let's figure out who we are. Right? Our company's name Be Do Have intentionally. So it's focusing on being. Who are you being? So to move forward to that next level, that next version of yourself, more success, you really have to get clear on who are you being right now. And then based on the intention, my vision, my desire, who can I become? Right? So that journey from being now to becoming a different person that thinks different, a person that has better habits, better and more successes, can connect different, has more intelligence, just awareness. It's really important to, at that point, understand that for us to move from here to that next level, we have to get clear who are we being right now. And our values often won't change. When you walk us through that experience, I know every time I do it, I write down about 15 to 20 different values that show up based on different experiences that I've had in my life. There's definitely a through line and there's a core group that always show up. And those values are going to be exactly where I am now to that next level. And stepping in and just owning and being that person all the time authentically, I think is very important, and not getting caught up in the noise of the business and what's happening in the market, because that can influence us. And that's what keeps us stuck in our results, because now we're focused on these things and what other people are telling us. So I think it's that personal identity, getting clear on who you are, taking time daily to make a note of what did you learn today? What were the lessons? What were your wins? What are you grateful for? Those are a couple things you could do every day to help you get into alignment to who you are and what is valuable to you. Like when you focus on what you're grateful for, you're going to start to see a pattern, right? And I think when it's in those patterns, I always just say, like, look for the patterns in life, in successes, in failures. You're going to see patterns when you look for it. So I think getting clear on what inspires you, what do you love doing, what do you have fun doing, and then questioning it: is this how I'm living my business now in my life now? And if it isn't, then there's going to be a disconnect. And then is that in alignment to who I am? So there's a lot of this personal identity questions that we have to ask ourselves and give ourselves space for it. And if we're just so busy working, go, if that happens week after week, month after month, year after year, we lose ourselves in this process. And I think that's what we're seeing this now more than ever right now.
And I know a few of the times we've gone through this, I remember 3 members specifically sharing how they were going to integrate what they found into their day-to-day life. And the really interesting piece of this is this isn't anyone that's worked at a company before they got into real estate. Probably even at your brokerage, they have corporate values for the office, right? People pick something that sounds good, but this isn't what this is. We're not just picking this, it's truly connected to your core operating system here. And 3 of the ways I remember previous members sharing the integration of this. So the integration of who you are, who you're being, and what you do on a day-to-day basis in your career as an agent. And one of the ones was, I actually have to keep this in front of me. Because so frequently you may have done a course before, maybe you've even done coaching before, and there's patterns where things don't stick. You're not seeing that long-term integration. And that does come down to daily practice and embodiment of the tools that you're learning so that you can apply that to your life. So if you listen to this and uncover a few values for yourself, actually keeping that in front of you on a day-to-day and just simply anchoring it in. Holding that piece of paper where you've written these values for yourself allows you to start your day with that intention, that top of mind, so that you can, and again, align and embody this moving forward with your clients. Another member, I remember them saying they actually changed the goals they were setting for themselves. So they changed it from a revenue specific to, they did keep that revenue target because that is a metric, that's a benchmark. And they tied it into as well how many clients they were helping, how many people they wanted to serve that year. And you could just tell the energetic shift. You could tell now they were motivated by that instead of them just being like, okay, I wrote something down. Like, where that's not going to pull me towards doing the actions within that. Any that come to mind for you, Jamie, when we talked about, the integration of just the values and the day-to-day responsibilities?
When you're not doing what you should be doing, like as an example, connecting with your clients, following up with leads. Like we had somebody recently say that, right? I'm not following up with leads, right? That's an indication that there's misalignment between who we are, our values, and the outcome. There was no awareness around that when we started the conversation. There was frustration around, like, why am I not following up with my leads? Or why am I not making my 5 connection calls? So in real estate, often we talk about making your calls, making your prospecting calls, making your lead generation calls. There's no real excitement in that. And I think now more than ever, there's this massive resistance to it. And we've shifted the language around that to connection calls, because the client we were working with that time, he loved helping people. So we just shifted it to connection calls. So now making connection calls every day is an example of being in alignment with the activity based on who we are that was valuable to you. So I think if you notice anything in your business right now that is not happening when you know it should be happening, there's a pattern there that's probably being caused by a disconnect in our mindset, to our subconscious beliefs, to our values. So how do we get reconnected to that, I think, is just questions we ask ourselves and reflecting. Like taking 15 minutes at the end of the day and just reflect on your day is a great way to get connected to who you are. Like that's really, I think, what this boils down to is, who are you as a person? And we can get clear on who am I and what excites me and what do I love doing, and then tying that into what's important about that, we see this through line of values show up in that. So I think just understanding and just getting connected to, if there's something I'm not doing I should be doing, what's the cause of that? And there's this disconnect that happens. So often, though, in real estate, we are independent souls, right? We're independent. We join companies. We're connected to a company. We join the company because the values of the company, the integrity of the company, the underlying mission of the company, maybe that's the reason in the beginning. I feel and often see it gets lost really quick. So then we as independent realtors, we have to come up with our own. We're independent business people. And if we're not aware of this or taught how to do it, it often doesn't happen. So then we just get caught in the doing part. And that's, I think, the gap and the opportunity of understanding and really treating yourself as a person and seeing what's the cause below the actions and inactions that are happening for you.
And that was the exact example I was thinking of, because we have had a few members have that finding from this experience and this exercise is like, I can't just connect to, so many people that I have to reach out to a day, so many leads, so many conversations. There is some agents that are motivated by that. We have found specifically with the people we work with, many of them are not. And it was that transition from, hey, I need to connect with people. I got into this because I wanted to help, because I wanted to serve, because I wanted to make a difference. And the second they change their outreach to connection, it clicks. You can see the shift within 60 minutes of, I want to do this again. And that was really our goal today, was to help you tap back into your energetic core, your belief in yourself, your desire for making a difference in your business and why you got into this in the first place. Any final thoughts, Jamie, or takeaways?
Yeah, I think understanding right now is you are exactly where you need to be, no matter what's happening in your life or business. Instead of maybe focusing on the gap of where we are and where we want to be, just understanding that you're exactly where you need to be. You are who you are. Everything in life has gotten you to this point in time. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. And you also have everything you need to progress and take that step forward. So if we can just get connected to it and see the leadership in ourselves, right? See the good and the greatness in ourselves and getting connected to that, it actually starts to build belief in ourselves again and ultimately confidence. And that confidence will come through as we take a step forward. So just understanding and knowing you have everything you need right now, everything's the way it's supposed to be, and you're not behind, you're right on time. Like that right now, I think is very important as we're a few months into the year, and I know I'm having these conversations. It's like, oh my God, I'm behind. And it's that repetition of that thought process is going to help and keep us stuck rather. So how do we frame and reframe that mindset is just knowing and believing that, okay, I'm right on track. Maybe I'm behind on the target. I have all year to catch up. So I'm right where I need to be. Like that just gives grace. And I think that's the piece is just give yourself grace to move forward and know that it's going to be fine. Just embody that mindset of being that person, that be your future self, that bit life of the person who's achieved the intention with the goal that you set. If you can step into that and just start to understand, like we have to stop repeating habits because they're so controlling, right? So all this can be done at the end of the day, just reflecting on your day, like what were your wins, what were the lessons, and what are you grateful for? That those three actions every day will actually have a massive impact.
Exactly. And truly, from today as well, tapping into what's important to you and how you can integrate that based on your future self and what you're doing on a day to day, because it's all possible. And truly knowing that you can be, do, and have the life that you want. That was our goal here. So, sending good energy to everyone your way. And we invite you to like, subscribe, and follow for the latest episodes first. Talk to you soon.